Now, I talked in a previous video about solving equations, and so we're going to talk in the next video and the video after this one about solving equations. So there's a couple different ways we can solve equations. We can solve equations with reasoning, just using our math knowledge, or we can solve equations using algebra. This video, we're going to talk about solving equations with reasoning. So I have a bunch of equations here, and these equations, we can just look at them and use what we know about numbers and operations, and we can kind of intuitively solve these equations. So for example, 2x minus 6. In math symbols, we don't write 2 times x equals 6, but that's what it means. So we know that some number, x, times 2 will give us 6. And most of us can figure out pretty simply that 2 times 3 will give us 6. And so x equals 3. And we can do that just by using what we know about numbers, right? Same thing here. X plus 3 equals 7. We know that 4 plus 3 will give us 7. So our x again here is going to equal 4. So these are pretty simple equations that we can just kind of look at and say, oh, I know the answer to that, right? So we're using our reasoning, our math reasoning, to solve these problems. And sometimes the problems can get a little bit more complicated, but we can still use our reasoning to solve them. For example, this problem here, where it says 382 plus 49 equals x plus 380. Now, we can look at this and we can say, oh my goodness, I see numbers that kind of look alike, right? I see 382 and I see 380. The only difference is the 2 on the left-hand side. And so I can take that 2 and I can move it to the 49. So here I can change this to 380 plus 51 equals x plus 380. And I can say to myself, oh, then x must equal 51. So just with a little manipulation in our brains, we can figure out pretty easily what x equals here. Here's another example. Here I have 7 times the quantity 5, x plus 5 equals 7 times 38. Well, here again, I see 7 times and 7 times. So I know that these two things go together. So x plus 5 has to equal 38 in this equation. And then I can use my reasoning to say, okay, something plus 5 equals 38, x must equal 33. Okay, so even though they're a little bit more complicated, we can look at these equations and we can see some patterns and things where we can use our reasoning to solve them. Similarly, here we go with 23 plus 36 plus x. Okay, so that equals 24 plus 36. Oh, I see a 36 on this side and I see a 36 on this side. I also see 23 and x. So knowing that, I can move these guys around using the commutative property of addition. I can change this to 23 plus x equals 24, so our x must equal 1. Last problem that I'm going to show you with just solving with reasoning. Again, we have 23 times x minus 36 equals 46. Well, I know there's a relationship here between 23 and 46, right? 23, excuse me, is half of 46. So I know that 23 times 2 is going to equal 46. So I have to know that x minus 36 has to equal 2, right? So again, I can use my reasoning. This one's a little more complicated, but I can use my reasoning to say something minus 36 is equal to 2. I am going to say that's going to be 38 minus 36 is equal to 2. So sometimes we can just use our brains and use our reasoning to solve equations.